Welcome to the April meeting of the League of Women Voters, Leelanau County. Thank you for coming out on such a lovely day. My name is Vina Meixel, and I am president of the Leelanau League. Our league became independent almost 2 years ago. We joined 400 other leagues throughout the nation, studying and advocating for issues, informing voters about candidates, and getting out the vote. The league is nonpartisan. It never, ever supports candidates or parties. The Leelanau League currently has 114 members, both men and women. We had 2 people join today, so if you're interested in learning more about becoming a member, we have brochures on the table over there. We also have the latest government directory, which you're welcome to take with you. It's published by the Leelanau County Administrator's Office, and it has a lot of information about people who are in offices in our county. To join the league, you must be 18 years of age or older and an American citizen. If you would like to receive notices about our meetings, there's a sign-up sheet on the table, and please write your email legibly. We've had a few of them returned because we couldn't read them. Our program today concerns the ballot proposal being presented to voters on May 5th. One of the League's core missions is to inform voters about issues and candidates. We are all here so we can make an informed decision at the ballot box. This program is being taped by Tom Slater for Up North TV2. It will also be on our website in a few days, as are many of our other programs. We are very fortunate today to have as our guest Kathy Ling. She will help guide us through the intricacies of the proposal, which will increase Michigan's sales tax from 6 to 7%. Kathy is a retired high school social studies and government teacher who has been an active league member and a winning candidate for public office in Isabella County. In addition to being on several boards, she was elected to the Mount Pleasant City Commission in 2008 and was subsequently appointed mayor when that office holder resigned. She was re-elected to a second term by an overwhelming majority. Kathy is a member of the Michigan State League's Advocacy Committee and has helped create the PowerPoint, which she will show you today. Please join me. Well, before I say that, we also have 4 league members who have studied different bills that will be effective, which will come into effect if the proposal is passed. And so they might be adding some information too. They are Jay Johnson, Barbara Abbott, Mary Easthope, and Betty Boucher. Please join me in welcoming fellow league member Kathy Ling.
Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to come up to speak to you, not only because it is interesting to talk to people about this very intricate, complicated proposal, but it's always a pleasure to come up to Leelanau County, which is one of my favorite places in the world. This is the first time I've been in the county building, the government building, and it is really impressive facility. So thank you for inviting me. We are going to be talking today about what has become, what is a very complicated and has become a very controversial proposal. And that is Proposal 15-1, which we'll vote on May 5th, that is designed to fix the roads. Before I start the PowerPoint, what I've discovered as I've talked to people is there's a lot of confusion about the issue, and it's kind of helpful to start with a basic framework. What exists now, and what's the basic point of the proposal? It's got lots of parts, but what essentially is it doing? So I have what I call a one-page primer on Proposal 1, and that's actually where I'm going to start. So if there's a couple people who could help me pass this out, that would be great. Try not to I'm amazed at this turnout. I mean, at Mount Pleasant, if we had a turnout like this to talk about a tax proposal, we would be flabbergasted. So it's really an amazing turnout. And I think I ran off about 70 of the handouts. If I don't have enough, you may need to share with the person.
I counted 75 people.
Did you? Okay, so a few people will have to share.
Oh, good. And I have maybe she doesn't bring it, huh? Because I have to share this before.
Does everyone have one, or just want to take a look at? All right, what I discovered is one of the reasons why there's a lot of confusion, partly it's a confusing proposal, but partly I'm not sure everybody is completely clear on exactly what we pay for taxes now when we're buying our gas. And that's because unlike when you go into the grocery store, for example, where if there's sales tax, it's listed separately. They give you your total, then they list the sales tax, and then you know your total. That's not true when you buy gas. You go by the gas station, it's got a price up there. That is the retail price, and all of the taxes are already rolled into it. So I'm not sure everybody's entirely clear what taxes are we paying when we pay gas. So that's the purpose of this. 3 basic facts to keep in mind. 1, the price of gas at the pump now includes 2 state taxes, the gas tax and the state sales tax. Plus, it also includes a federal gas tax. So you're actually paying 3 taxes when you buy your gas. A federal tax, which is about 18 cents, the state gas tax, which is 19 cents, and then the sales tax. And the sales tax is a changeable figure because the price of gas is changeable. The sales tax right now is 6%. So if the price of gas, the retail price, that's the other thing that's confusing. You've got 3 figures that deal with the price of gas. You have a wholesale price, which we'll be talking about in a minute when we do the PowerPoint. You have the retail price, and then you have the price you see on the pump. And the price you see at the pump is the retail price, whatever that particular gas station has decided to charge for their gas. That's why all the gas stations don't charge the same amount. As I was driving up, there was actually a 30-cent difference between Mount Pleasant and Sutton's Bay in the various gas stations. And that's because they all have different retail prices. And then they put the gas tax on top of that. So if the retail price were $2, which is right now the price of gas is relatively low, so the retail price in a lot of places probably is about $2. 6% times $2 is 12 cents. If the retail price is $3, then the sales tax is going to be 18 cents. And of course at $4 it would be 24 cents. So 2 of the taxes, the federal tax and the state tax, are set. 19 cents for the state, 18 cents for the federal government, but the sales tax floats depending upon what the retail price of gas is. And that's one of the reasons why it's a little difficult to say exactly how much more gas is going to cost compared to what we have now, and we'll be talking about that. So there's 2 state taxes on your gas. 2, the Constitution mandates that the gas tax, the 19 cents, goes to the transportation fund and can only be used for transportation-related costs, mostly roads. About 90% of the money that's in the transportation fund must be spent on roads, and all of the gas tax money goes into that transportation fund. However, 3, the Constitution mandates that the sales tax goes primarily to schools and local government, not to roads. It makes no difference if the sales tax is on the gas. The sales tax is on gas just like it's on everything else other than food and prescriptions. So it's a product, you pay a sales tax on it, it's 6%, but that money does not go to the roads. And that's one of the things people have said they would like to see change. They'd like to see all the tax money they pay for their gas going to roads. And that would change under this proposal. So if Proposal 1 passes, both these taxes will change. The tax you pay at the pump will change because A, the sales tax will be eliminated, which the amount varies depending on the retail price, and as I said, at $3, it's about 18 cents. B, the gas tax increases from 19 cents to 41.7 cents. So it's approximately a 23-cent increase in the gas tax. 3, the net increase in tax at the pump at $3 a gallon would be about 4 cents and would raise $1.3 billion for roads. And D, this is where the proposal gets confusing. D, eliminating the sales tax on gas would reduce the total sales tax revenue by approximately $825 million, because right now, it's when you pay for the sales tax on gas, the total per year is about $825 million, and that goes to schools and local governments. And therefore, it would reduce the money available to fund schools and local governments. Therefore, 2, the sales tax will be increased from 6 to 7%, which will generate about $1.5 billion to replace, and then those next 2 words are very, very significant in terms of understanding why there's a lot of controversy about this proposal. To replace and supplement revenues to schools and local government, and to return the earned income tax credit to previous levels in order to reduce the impact of the increase in the sales tax on low-income families. So the reason the sales tax is going up from 6 to 7% is to replace and supplement the revenue lost when the sales tax is taken off of the gas tax. That is essentially what is happening with Proposal 15-1. With that in mind, I'm going to go through the leaks PowerPoint. I'd like to try to just go straight through it so that we will have time for questions. And also, since you do have members of your own league, they'll be able to supplement some of this information about the specific bill. Now let's see how this works. So far, so good. Overview of the presentation. We're going to talk about the ballot wording, the legislative history, what revenue will be raised from the proposal, where that money will be spent, the expenditures for the proposal, other information related to the proposal, what those people in favor of it say, what those people who are opposed to it say, and then at the end of it, there's some other voting information that I'll go through quickly because we are the League of Women Voters, and we do like to make sure everybody has the information about voting. I'm not sure where in here, so I'm going to say it now, and if I get to it afterwards, I will just skip over it. The League has no position on Proposal 1. They do occasionally take positions on proposals. They never endorse candidates, but if they've studied an issue and have a position on the issue, they will do they will sometimes take a position. League has not studied the issue prior to this proposal being developed. League has not studied the issue of how to finance roads. And so they did not take a position on it, but they did decide they wanted to provide educational material for people. So League is completely neutral on this. I will be doing my best to be completely neutral. Let me know if you think I indicated one side or the other as I'm going through the presentation, and I will tweak it for the next time because we are completely neutral on this proposal. Oh, whoops. This proposal 215, this is exactly what is going to be on the ballot. This and the next page. It's 100 words, and so this and the next page will be on the ballot. A proposal to amend the state constitution to increase the sales and use tax from 6% to 7%, to replace reduced revenue to the school, to replace reduced revenues to the school aid fund and local units of government caused by the elimination of the sales use tax on gasoline and diesel fuel for vehicles operating on public roads, and to give effect to laws that provide additional money for roads and other transportation purposes by increasing the gas tax and vehicle registration fees. Also on the ballot, it will include an explanation. The proposed constitutional amendment would eliminate sales and use taxes on gasoline and diesel fuel for vehicles on public roads and increase the portion of the use tax dedicated to the school aid fund. Expand the use of the school aid fund to community colleges and career technical education, but prohibit the use for four-year colleges and universities. And give effect to laws, including those that. So the first two are the actual amendment to the Constitution. And if that amendment passes, it will also put into effect a series of laws that were passed last December that are related to this proposal. And those include increase the sales tax to 7% as authorized by the constitutional amendment. First, the people have to authorize it. Then the legislature actually raises it from 6% to 7%. Increase the gasoline diesel fuel tax and adjust annually for inflation. Increase vehicle registration fees and dedicate revenue for roads and other transportation purposes. Expand competitive bidding and warranties for road projects. Increase the earned income tax credit. Should this proposal be adopted, yes or no? So it's really good that all of you are here this morning learning about this proposal, because you can imagine what it would be like to walk into the voting booth and that's what you're looking at and try to decide, do I want to vote yes or no on this proposal? The legislative history of HJRUU and the 10 laws that are given effect if Proposal 1 passes. 3 years ago, the governor has made fixing roads one of the things that he's trying to achieve. And about 3 years ago, in the State of the State, he indicated that that was his goal. The governor, House Speaker Bolger, and House Democratic Leader Grimmel, Senate Majority Leader Richardville, and Senate Democratic Leader Whitmer agreed upon HJR 33 and a package of 10 other bills. That happened. I'm not going to worry about it. The governor's basic proposal was to simply add 22 cents to the price of gas. That's what he said in the State of the Union. He basically said we need to, it's been at 19 cents since 1997. It's time to increase it. We need to raise it to approximately 42 cents, and that was his proposal. That proposal was not agreed to by the legislature. The House in particular was very opposed to it, and their proposal basically was to say, we'll add the 22 cents, but we're going to take off the sales tax, and then we'll just make up for it in other ways. They weren't going to increase the sales tax. They just figured they could try to come up with funding in other ways. The Senate basically agreed with the governor's proposal, but more than with the House proposal, but all three of them had different ideas, and they could not agree. So what happened was the Michigan House approved HJR 3UU and other bills on December 19th, 2014 with a 2/3 vote. In the House, the vote was 94 to 16. It took a 2/3 vote. That's actually quite a bit more than a 2/3 vote. I mean, when you think about it, you think about this legislature and the fact that they usually can't agree on the time of day, I was actually amazed when I saw that there had been 94 votes in favor of it. 49 Democrats and 44 Republicans, 1 independent. The no votes were 15 Republicans and 1 Democrat. In the Michigan Senate, they approved the amendment and other bills on the same day with a 2/3 vote, 26 to 12. Yes, 15 Republicans and 11 Democrats. No, 11 Democrats and 11 Republicans and 1 Democrat. So you can see that while the no votes, there were more Republican no votes than there were Democratic no votes, nonetheless, it was pretty bipartisan, and the Republicans controlled the legislature, so you had to get a fair number of them in order for it to pass. So it's viewed as a relatively bipartisan proposal. The fiscal impact, revenues and expenditures of this proposal and the 10 new laws. And this is all taken from House Fiscal Agency analysis of the transportation planning package. And at the end of this presentation, I do have another handout. It's the Lee's handout. And it's just a brief summary of the money involved. And it has 4 other websites on it where you can get additional information. And you may decide after this if there's still some other information you would like to find. What you will find, and you may have already seen this if you've read some of the newspaper articles on it, not everybody agrees on exactly how much is going to be raised. Sometimes you will see that it is a $1.9 billion proposal, $2 billion proposal, $2.1 billion proposal. The reason for that is because it is all estimates. Everybody's making assumptions, particularly in terms of the sales tax. You never know for sure from one year to the next exactly how much people are going to spend, and therefore everybody is estimating, and not everybody used the same estimates. But it is approximately, most people agree that it is approximately a $2.1 billion proposal, both in terms of the money that's going to be raised and the money that's going to be spent. And that's what the House Fiscal Agency uses as their figure. Revenue increased the state sales and use tax by 1%. Currently, the Michigan Constitution specifies a 6% sales tax on every dollar spent. Sales and use taxes are levied on the retail sale and use of tangible personal property, no sales tax on groceries or prescriptions. The ballot proposal would amend the Michigan Constitution, changing the sales and use tax rate to 7% or 7 cents on every dollar. State revenue would increase by an estimated $1.6 billion in fiscal year 2017-18. It is kind of phased in for a number of reasons, so most of the figures they're using are where we would be in 2017-18. It also amends the Constitution to eliminate the 6% sales tax on the sale of gasoline, which would decrease, therefore, the total revenue from sales tax by $829 million. Michigan ranks 37th highest among states for, say, the state sales tax rate. Some states allow local sales tax as well as the state sales tax. Michigan does not. That's why you have heard, and I've read a number of times, Michigan will have the highest sales tax. And that's kind of yes and no. And think about the last time that you went to Illinois, to Chicago. I'm sure there are people here who've been to Chicago, and you buy something in Chicago, and then you discover the sales tax is really high because they've got the state sales tax, but they also have a local, the city has a sales tax. So it's actually over 10%. So it is a little hard to do comparisons. But this takes the highest state. Tennessee has the highest total sales tax rate. Wisconsin has the lowest, other than the four that don't have a sales tax at all. So the state sales tax in Tennessee right now is 7%, but the local average sales tax is 2.45%. So the actual, for most people in Tennessee, the sales tax is 9.45%. Illinois is at 8.6, Ohio's at 7.1, Indiana is at 7, Michigan is at 6. You'll see both Indiana and Michigan are states that don't allow a local sales tax. And then Wisconsin is at 5%. So the lowest is Wisconsin at 5.43, the highest is Tennessee at 6.45, and Michigan would be at 7%. The revenues, currently there's 19 cents a gallon plus sales tax of 19% for gasoline. The ballot proposal would be 14.9% of the wholesale price initially, 41.7 cents. Gasoline plus zero sales tax for gasoline. The total revenue will increase by an estimated $1.3 billion in fiscal year 2017, going to state roads, streets, and bridge improvements. Now I'm going to take this is where I'm going to explain a little bit what's happening with the gas tax. And while it's still going to be essentially flat from year to year, it is going to be tied, it will go up with inflation, unlike the current gas tax. The current gas tax was set in 1997, and it is at 19 cents. And it has stayed at 19 cents now for almost 20 years because there is no inflationary rate built into it. What's going to happen with this, that 41.7 is based on taking the wholesale price of gas, right around $2.28, and multiplying it by 14.9%. That's what the rate is going to be, 14.9%. And that set the base of 41.7. And that will stay that way for a year, starting in October if this passes. Then, the next year, they will look at basically what the consumer price index has been. It's very, you could read through the bill, it's very complicated, but basically what it says is they're going to look at the increase in the cost of living, the consumer price index, and they will adjust it by either the consumer price index or 5%, whichever is lower. So if the consumer price index were higher than 5%, they would not increase it more than 5%. if the consumer price index indicated prices had gone up about 3%, then they're going to increase it by 3%. So basically, it will now be adjusted for inflation. And some people would say one of the reasons why the roads are in bad shape is because we're at the same rate that we've been for almost 20 years, and the cost of everything has gone up. Plus, of course, people are using less gas because there's more fuel efficiency. So there are a number of factors that have contributed to this. Current revenues for transportation in fiscal year 2014-15, the gross appropriation was $3 billion rather. There's a big difference between a million and a billion. $3,725,062,600. I'm going to round off most of these figures. If the proposal passes, it will add approximately $1.2 billion to the state state restricted funds, which will then equal $5 billion. So we're going to increase the amount that we're spending on roads in Michigan from approximately $3.7 billion to approximately $5 billion. This is the current breakdown of the way in which the money is spent. State restricted means that's the money that goes into the transportation fund from the gas tax and the vehicle registration fees, and those are user fees. And by the Constitution, they cannot be used for anything else. So while sometimes one has the feeling that the legislature will sometimes take money out of things like maybe the school aid fund, for example, and use it in other places, they cannot do that with the transportation fund because it's user fees that go in there, and the Constitution requires that it be spent on roads. And in fact, I was at a presentation last week where the head of MDOT was there, and he says at the end of each year he has to be able to fill out a form that says this is exactly how much we collected in the gas tax and vehicle registration, and this was what was spent on roads, and this is what's left. This is a surplus that we'll be spending next year, or the deficit. Of course, it's been a deficit for the most part. You'll see there's the federal money, and then there's the general fund. The general fund at this point is at 8% because the general fund has been supplementing the transportation fund because there hasn't been enough money to fix the roads, and the reason they have to supplement it, and it's been debated, it's been very controversial in the last few years, but there's also the federal money, which is a large part, 33%, but the federal money is a match. And if the state doesn't match the federal money, then they don't get the federal money. And there hasn't been enough money in the transportation fund to match it, and therefore the general fund has actually contributed some to that. That may go down. I mean, people talk about, well, they take from one pot and put it in another. They can't do anything with the transportation fund, but I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest that since they've been supplementing that fund, if there's now additional money going into that fund, it is conceivable. I don't know. There's no way to know for sure. But the part that's going in from the general fund, that could be adjusted. So the other revenue, this is going every other one. I can see that's happening, but can't do anything about that right now because I know that there have been some slides that have been skipped, and when we're done, I may try to go back to a couple of them that are kind of important. But these are the other revenue changes. It will eliminate the 10% per year discount on vehicle registration that new car buyers receive for the first 3 years if they own their car. Revenue on vehicle license fees will increase by $62 million in fiscal year 2017-18. This is how registration fees are going to change. When you buy a car, you pay a registration fee. And then when you renew your registration each year, for the first 3 years, it goes down by approximately 10%. The second year, you're paying 90%. So if you bought a car, the example they had in the Citizen Research Council analysis was if you had a car